Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. There we go. Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Today we have an exciting and interesting discussion. We will continue our discussion using state purposes, but I also want to show you some of the other things that I've been working on, some of the things that I find interesting, and I'm going to talk about some future ideas that we are going to talk about in the future. So let's begin. Now, the concept of, so you might think that what are you doing? Why do you always talk about create crucial insight? And why is that the basis of your methodology? Or why is this so important to you? And I would say in general that if you learn to master one type of methodology, then other methodologies become easier to grasp. And this is connected with the concept of, for example, let's say that you have a deeply held religious belief, and then you start listening to a bunch of people who are attacking that religious belief, and then you start to deconstruct that religious belief, and then suddenly you realize that all religion is BS. And you're like, oh my goodness, because it's not just my religion, it's all religion. And then suddenly it's like, where is my place in the universe? And am I supposed to understand? And then you have to build yourself up again from some kind of base. So just like how deeply held religious beliefs, if you break them, they may break something even deeper than you expect to be broken. If you understand one methodology, then you will be able to understand other methodologies. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. Does that even make sense? Anyways, the interesting thing about Create Crucial Insight is, let's go into the table of contents. Now, of course, the basis behind the book Create Crucial Insight are these things called the checklists, the direct outcomes checklists. So you use the checklist and you get some kind of direct outcome. And here are the names of all the different checklists. The word state, I think that means to state, to speak out, to say, to talk about. And right now we are currently in this chapter called state purposes. Earlier, we talked a little bit about state styles. We have also talked about state, I don't know right now, actually. I'm not sure which ones we've talked about. A little bit about state teamwork. Perhaps a little bit about state drive. Anyways, what I wanted to show you today is, let's go down to this thing called create methods. In the create methods chapter, it says to create, extend, integrate, and select methods. So you might be asking, if you're teaching direct outcomes checklists, then why are you always talking about other concepts and other methodologies as well? And that's because in the book itself, it tells us, look, okay, so if you are going to be doing some strategic scenarios or tactical planning, then you can use direct outcomes checklists to spot useful issues, problems, or opportunities. If you are using goal setting, if you are using project management, if you are using what? So time management thinking, if you're using TRIZ, if you're using, there's just all kinds of different methodologies that Dr. Buchholz lists, and he talks about how you can use direct outcomes checklists in order to help you. And so that's what we're doing. Is you can see that we are, oh, that's the thing I wanted to show you. We are combining. So in this case, we're looking at the direct outcomes checklist called state purposes, and then we are combining it with the big 5 personalities. And it's supposed to give us some new concepts, some new understanding, some deeper understanding of these principles. But before we jump into that, I just wanted to show you this thing called 100 Task Startup. It's very interesting. The thing is that okay, so these are basically all the 100 steps that you need to take in order to take I don't have anything, I don't have a business, I don't know what's going on, to what? To IPO, right? So there's basically 100 things that you have to do. But you can't talk about 100 things in one video. It will take 100 videos to talk about 100 things. It may even take 200 videos to talk about 100 things. And so it's more important for me anyways to mainly talk about the beginning, the setup. And then as I started to look at their the setup, it's okay, so it says conduct Porter's five forces, three horizons, blue ocean. Wait a minute. So there's no way that this person has like intellectual property rights to these concepts. These are well-known business thinking models. So I just typed out all 100 of the steps in this document. All right, so here's the website, and then here's they said this is what the 100 steps will give you. So here it is, all 100 steps. Full stack, I call it full stack 100 steps. From here, what I did was I deleted 75 of those steps. So now we have like 25 steps. That's much more manageable, but still, like, you can't talk about setup and launch and scale. So let's just focus on the setup area. So that brings us down to 14 tasks. And then, well, the thing is, like, at this point, where's the intellectual property? What am I copying? So defining goals, that's nothing special. Creating some kind of organizational chart, setting financial targets. Okay, there's a lot of videos online that you can find that are going to be talking about these concepts. Now, here we go. So I'm focusing now on collecting ideas. So we have what is a business model? What are all the various business models? And then we have like thinking. What is design thinking? What are Porter's five forces? What are three horizons? Business model canvas, blue ocean, red ocean, customer discovery model, 10 types of innovation. Wow, like what is going on? So what I did was I just went and I talked to ChatGPT and I asked them, okay, so like what are the business models? It came up with a whole bunch of different business models. Then I found an image for design thinking. I found an image for five forces, Porter's five forces. I found an image for three horizons. I have the book for business model canvas. I found an image for blue ocean, red ocean. I found an image for customer development. I found an image for 10 types of innovation. And at the end, we have the lean startup loop. So there you go. So what I'm doing with this is I'm testing it with a lot of my students right now. I'm working on this presentation. I'm trying to improve this presentation. This is going to be something that we can talk about in the future. For right now, we're going to just keep going through this list. So if we go back to the book, Create Crucial Insight, then you're going to see that there is the chapter called State Purposes. I would say that this is the most difficult chapter to get through. When I talk to different students, most people it's hard to talk about it. It's hard to really understand like how to make this content more interesting. And I don't know how to make it more interesting exactly. So, sometimes you just have to push. You just push and push and push and push and get through all of the content. In the last 3 videos, we were talking about maintain or enhance wellness. The result that we came up with is that when an employer provides you with an employment contract, then you should identify specific points of how you want to maintain or enhance your wellness. And make sure that the employment contract reflects aspects of that wellness. Provide an opportunity so that when you're at work and you're doing the actual thing which you are getting paid to do, that other elements of your life, other wellness aspects of your life are also being addressed to some extent. All right, so now let's move to the next one. So attain certification and other recognition. And I think we can probably speed up a little bit at this point because you already understand the whole concept. The concept is what? The concept is that any kind of business, any kind of endeavor, any action, anything that you're doing in life is going to have a foundation of potential. Potential, it means that you have some kind of vision. And in order to achieve that vision, you're going to need some things, right? And you can't do things. Like the old question is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So this goes back to, my course about the endeavor cycle. And I cover this at almost the very beginning of the course. And this is the question. So the question is, do you ever make plans without looking at previous actions? And the joke is, I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know. It's really simple, really. It's like the idea is that when you want to get something done, you are going to be running a play, and then you have a plan, and then you run the play. And each time you run the play, you're going to get some output. And So you're never actually creating something absolutely new. You're going from A to B, meaning we have something and now we want to create something new. The B is the vision. The first question is that vision desirable? And then, is that vision possible? And then you start to move into the next section, which is agendas. But before we get into agendas, Dr. Buchholz, he then takes the word potential and he breaks it down into guide interactions, excite motivation, and involve resources. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Particularly this first one, guide interactions. All right, so I want to get back to Canada. In fact, I want to move to Quebec. And so right now I'm learning French. When I get to Quebec, then I want to be able to start to get to know the French-speaking people and understand what is the political climate in Quebec, because I think that having some degree of knowledge in the French-speaking part of Canada will be helpful when I start to move toward becoming more politically active. And I think that politics is completely dependent upon who you know. In fact, most business, they always say it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And that's why potential is so connected to interaction, because really the human resources that you have access to are going to be more beneficial to you than any of the other resources that you can get your hands on. All right, so it's at the top. Now, in addition, those interactions, they have to be motivated. The different people that you're working with, we need to understand their motivations. And that's really what we're talking about right now. With the state purposes checklist, we're starting to understand what are the motivations of the people that we are connected with. If they're part of your company, then we want to understand how to motivate them. What are the things that they want in relation to actually what is the project that they are trying to work on, and then also the spark trigger. What are some additional aspects of the environment that can help them, that can facilitate them to make it easier for them to complete their work? And then finally, involving resources. So that is what's called empowerment, right? So Dr. Buchholz talks about resources as things like skills and data, entities, reputations, loyalties, funds, infrastructure, and time. Now, when we talk about potential, so, okay, if I have no time, then it means I can't work with potential. If you have a full-time job, you're fully engaged, I don't have extra energy, I don't have motivation to work on a side hustle because I just don't have any time. Infrastructure, okay, I don't have a computer, so I can't get online. Or I have to go to like an internet bar. Like if I'm living in China, I remember when I didn't have a computer in China, like in 2004, and I had to go to an internet bar. Funds. So like, do you have enough money to put into this endeavor? Loyalties. So like, what are the principles that you are fighting for? Are you fighting for green? Or are you fighting for feminism? Are you fighting for conservatism? Are you fighting for, like, what is it that you want to see? Like, what is it that you believe in? Reputation. Do people trust you? Do people believe in your cause? Do people know who you are? Entities. Who else is there that's helping you? So entities, I think that's also connected to interactions. Data and skills. So all of these things are related to potential. And in fact, what we're going to talk about today is also related to skills, and it's also related to reputations. All right, so we're looking at a motivation which is directly connected to resources. So let's jump back into the book, Create Crucial Insight. And today we are looking at attaining certification or other recognition. Now, what does it mean? Like, what do you think about when you're reading this sentence? Why is it connected to potential? Remember, potential is in this case, you could say that you're internalizing it. It's you. Like I'm the kind of person who's extremely motivated. I'm the kind of person who's extremely motivated when I can see how this job or this opportunity is going to help me, right? So I'm motivated because, okay, so for example, like someone is like, they decide to be a personal trainer because they can see how being a personal trainer is like two birds with one stone. So they can also engage physically exercise and become more fit. Also, they're continuously talking to people about fitness and how to become more fit, what kinds of food, and then they're communicating with other people. So somebody who is highly motivated to enhance their own wellness, they might also choose a job which is connected to wellness. Now, in attain certification or other recognition. So in this case, maybe, for example, in my case, like I'm extremely motivated to learn more because I reached a point in my career in China when I was working for a law firm, and suddenly they were like, okay, so you have a law degree in China, but do you have a law degree in Canada? And I was like, okay, no, not yet. And then they're like, well, if you don't have if you haven't passed a bar exam in Canada, then you really can't become a partner in our law firm. And foreigners aren't allowed to take the Chinese bar exam, 司法考试. So, what are you going to do? And I was like looking around like, what am I going to do? And then, so they said, okay, you can do business development. So you can work on the marketing side. You can be an interpreter. You can do simultaneous interpretation with English and Chinese. You can run around with the partners. You can be our monkey. You can get people excited. Because the thing is, like when Chinese people see a white guy speaking Chinese at an extremely fluent level, then it's like, wow, that's really interesting. But that's not really where I wanted to be. So I was trying to figure out how to do business, and I didn't know how to do business. I recognized I didn't understand business. And so when I moved to Silicon Valley in order to understand what is the startup culture, what is the business world, what are all these concepts that people are talking about, and that's when I met Dr. Buchholz. And when I started reading his book, I was like, okay, this is knowledge. This is going to take some time to understand, and I'm going to work through this, and I'm going to really understand that. And so literally for the last 10 years, I've been teaching and I've been learning, and I've been trying to what? So it's not exactly attain certification, because I'm more focused on, well, I guess it's higher up. So here it is. So it's gain methods, skills, and knowledge. All right, so maybe that's not the best example because, in fact, yes, I'm interested in developing my own potential. And one way I can develop my potential is to gain methods, skills, and knowledge. And that's one of the reasons why I teach and I work with people that are running their own businesses, because I want to see how they run the businesses. And also I want to provide them with thinking tools and thinking models. And then I want to listen to how they're using those, how they react to those thinking models and thinking tools in their own business. And I want to see if they can make some positive change after they've learned to think using thinking methodologies. So I guess attaining certification is something a little bit different because this is more about recognition. All right, so how is recognition connected with the 5 personalities? If you are high in openness, then it means that you like to learn new things. So yes, so I mean, that's what I was talking about to begin with also, that attaining certification, it's all about the motivation to learn new things. But I think when it comes to the word recognition, and when we use the word other recognition, then we're actually talking about attaining certification for the purpose of receiving recognition of having that certificate. All right, so you need to have openness in order to want to learn new things. And it might not be so important. Well, here we go. So extroversion. So if you're an extroverted person, likely you get positive energy from other people. If you're getting positive energy from other people, then obviously you have some desire for the approval from others. And that's where I think that people who are high in extroversion are likely extremely interested to get approval from others. And when they can paste another certificate on their wall, or if you're in a business meeting and suddenly somebody is like, hey, we want to recognize Sam's effort and contribution to this project. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Thank you. And then Sam's like, wow. So Sam is, I mean, the thing is that I've talked to a lot of people about this, and introverts and extroverts, everyone tells me that everybody likes recognition. Everyone likes to be appreciated. And so, yeah. Agreeableness, neuroticism, are any of those things connected to this motivator? Not really. Anyway, so that's the purpose of what we're doing, is we're trying to see if, like, what kinds of personality traits are important for you in your job. And then we're trying to understand about these spark triggers and what kind of spark triggers you can put into an employment contract or you can provide at work in order to get people more motivated in your organization. So we started with adding some things to the employment contract related to wellness. And now we may want to add, I mean, how are you going to add recognition? So, okay, so what can I do in the employment contract? I guess what I could do is, if you achieve A, B, and C, then you can get a promotion. Or if you do these different educational programs, then you are going to receive this certification. And if you receive the certification, then you can get some kind of promotion. So, I think maybe you could be more creative than me. Maybe you have a lot more ideas than me. But if you set up, well, the last thing, I know we're running out of time, but the last thing is it's important to understand the top, which is this concept of having a motivation and then having a facet. So let's stop here, and then we're going to pick up the next video talking about what this concept means up here at the top, because that's really the key, is understanding what are the facets, what are the motivations, and are they positively or negatively correlated. Thank you for joining me at Space Between Ideas, and I'll see you next time.